You know Power BI, but still you have lots of questions in your mind. How does it happen? Why it happens? How can I do that? This is the series for you. Subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon to get the notifications. Hello and welcome to another video of Abstract Thesis series, and in today's video we are going to discuss one interesting problem, that is doing the bucketing of the employees tenure in the organization. I am calling it as current age here in this current file which I am using right now. So that's what it is required, like on a given month which I'm selecting, in that given month how many employees are 0 to 6 months old, and that's not the age, it's the tenure of the employee in the organization. How many of them belongs to 6 to 12 months and how many are more than 12 months. Now, this is a really interesting problem because we wanted to know the tenure, and you can see we see more than 2, and then there are 2 employees which is having the current age as 14, which the tenure in this one is 14, and then there are a few employees which is having tenure more than 6 months, and another 4 employees which is having tenure less than or equal to 6 months. So this is what we want. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create all the things which are there in this file. We are going to create the model from this beginning, and to do this you require the file which is employee record file which you can get from my GitHub account. So first let's get the data, let's get that employee record file. So I'm going to search for that, and I'll say I need an Excel file. So I say get data, and then in the get data I want the Excel and I want the employee record file. I don't have that right now, so let me download it. So let me download the employee record file. So for that you have to go to my GitHub account, github.amitchandak.pbi Power BI. That's where you're going to get it, and here I can download the file employee record, employee rec.excel. Click on that and then you will get a download button, and you can say show in folder. I can cut it and I can paste it in my data folder, and let me go ahead and try to get it now. So I got this employee record 2. It was all seems like already present there. Okay, fine. So we got the file. Now this file contains sheet 1, and in this sheet I have employee ID, name, start date and end date. Let me load this data. I don't want to do any kind of transformation, I just want to keep this. So I'm going to load this data, and once I load this data I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup because this file have few spaces at few places like in employee ID. So this table data has loaded. You can see the data here. Now instead of sheet 1 I'm going to call this table as employee, and let's look at employee ID. I don't want employee ID to have the space, and I also don't want my employee ID to sum up. I want to say don't summarize. That's the column that's not going to summarize. End date is fine, start date is fine, name is fine. There's no problem. Let's look, is there any space in any of these? No. Now next thing which I require is basically a date table. It's good to have a date table which doesn't join in this case, but what happens is the previous model which I had as a date table joined, and I created those formula, and that could be the usual case where you are having a join with the start date, and so that you can get your hired employee pretty quickly. So looking at that case I'm going to do a join here, but even if you don't join, you means you have all the joins which are inactive, you can still work with that. So I click on the employee IC table tool, and in the table tool I'm going to click on the new table, and I'm going to create a date table. And to create a date table I'm going to use calendar auto function. So let me use calendar auto, and I got my date table created. It has all the dates which I require. Now I need some additional columns, so I'll say add columns. Typically these columns are usually available with me, but let me quickly create it. One of the column which I need is basically month year, and which is the formatted month year. So I'm going to use month year. So what does add columns does it takes a table, and then I can give the column name and the expression where I want to create the column. So add columns table is calendar auto. The only column available with me is date. So all my operations has to come from the column date, and the column date I'm going to use here, and the format function is going to give me format in a particular month -YYYY. Now the challenge with this date is it cannot be sorted. Alt enter, I need a sortable column where I can sort this. So month year sort is the column which I'm going to use to sort this, because this month year is going to be text. Power BI doesn't understand how to sort the text as the month year. We don't have anything to tell that, so we need to create a sort column. So we are going to create a sort column which is nothing but year of the date, and only thing which is available with us right now for the calculation is the date star 100 plus month. Because the multiplication is going to take higher priority, I don't need a parenthesis there. And now I can close my table. I can right now do my task with these three columns. If needed later, we'll add certain more things. Now I click on the month here, and in the month here I will go to the column tools, sort by column, and the column I'm going to use month year sort as my sort column. So what would happen whenever I put this into the table, now it will get sorted because of this column month year sort, and it's going to give me the correct sorting. Now as you know that when we use date table, we would like to mark it as a date table. So I go to the data model view, I click on this icon. I would like to mark it as a date table and join with my employee table. So I right click here and I say mark as date table, mark as date table, and I say date. Now this option is available in all the three views, whether you are in the report view or data view or model view, all three views, this option is available. Now the moment I does it, the date table is marked as a key column and there's no more date hierarchy which is available. Now I'm going to join first with the start date, because I want to have an active join. It's going to create one too many single directional active join. I'm fine with that. Now I'm going to join it again with the another date which is end date. Again it's going to create a join, but this time this join would be inactive because we cannot have two active join at the same time, and we are fine with that because we are going to handle this into a measure to do that. So now we got it. So we got this table, we got the date table sorted out, and let's quickly look at how many employees we have hired or how many employees got terminated each month. To do that, let's bring in month here, and the moment I bring in, you will see that it is coming in the sorted format. Now let me go and increase the little bit font size so that you can see it easily, and I always prefer to do it using themes. Under the view tab, the theme is available, customize current theme, and I'm not only going to change the portion which is basically the text size, which I'm going to increase by 5 pixels everywhere. And I'm not doing any other changes. So now you can see the text a little bit bigger. Now the next thing which I'm going to do is, see, even if I drag this employee ID and I say the count, it's going to tell me the higher number. Okay, so January I hired 2 employees, and if you look at my data, basically you can see that, you know, in the month of January I had 2 employees, and in the month of February I had another one. Okay, so this looks correct, but this is what we don't need. So let's start creating measures. So for in the employee table, the first measure I'm going to create is the measure which is basically hired, and for this I can simply say count of employee ID, because my active join is hire date. Now in case you feel that the active join can change sometime, you can use calculate count of employee ID and use relationship. This is optional right now. We are doing just to tell you date of date, comma, employee start date. Now what happens in case you make this join inactive or you change your active inactive join, still this will keep on working, and now you get the hired employees. And as soon as I drag this measure, you might have observed wherever the hired is null, it's going to show you the blank, and that's what expected behavior is. Now we need the terminated employees, so we create another measure. Again in the employee table, we are going to create using the table tools or right click new measure. We can create a new measure, and the measure which we are going to create is terminated. And in the terminated neighbor measure, what we are going to say calculate, again we'll say count of employees. Now if I would have only created the hired one, I could have used that, but right now I need to do it again, count of employee IDs. And now I'm going to say use relationship, date of date, comma, and date. Now once I plot this into the visual, you will realize that I need little bit more than that. So once I plot this, you start seeing this blank, because in Power BI by default, if there is certain things which are available on the, because of the blank values will continue to show that. So that is why, because the end date was blank and that was not joining with the table, still the value is coming. So we need to here specifically call out that not is blank and date. So we are going to say that the employee end date should not be blank, create a measure like that, and that's how we get the correct terminated count. Now how do we get the active employees or the employees in the every month? Now right now we are only getting the months where either you have a hired employee or you have a terminated employee. Now we want to get the active employees. To now get the active employees, we have to do a little bit of more work. So now let's create what we call active employee or the current employee. Let's create a measure which is called is active employee. Now to get the empty employees, what we need to do, we need to do count X, filter the employee table. And while we have how we have to filter the employee table, we have to say employee dot start date should be greater than, should be less than or equal to the max, means whatever is the max date available in the context, my hiring should be done before that. So max of date, okay, and the person is not terminated in this month. So what we'll say, so one of the two conditions should be there, is blank and date, means the employee has not been terminated yet, or and date is strictly greater than the max of date, whatever in the date context the date is available. Now if you are dealing with beginning of period or end of period, you can use min as for the beginning of period, and there would be little bit change. The higher should be strictly less than, but terminated can be greater than and equal to. So here we are saying, and for the end date it should be strictly greater than. So min is going to give you beginning of period, max is going to give you end of period. So let's say date again, and we so our condition is and is blank, is ended with the bracket, the condition ended, and the now we need to count. So let's count only employee ID. So we will count the employee IDs and we close it. Now we'll put this measure and you will realize this measure is still not complete, because the moment I drag it here in the table visual, you don't see some of the months which we don't have the data appearing here. Like there are a few months missing, and still it doesn't seems like account 3 should have been come in the second month. Doesn't seems. The reason it is happening because the join with the hire date is still active, and we need to ask this measure to ignore that join. So we go here and we put a calculate, and in this formula we first time going to use is cross filter, and the cross filter we are going to say date you should ignore the join with the start date. Now I can create a bidirectional using that none, one way, left or right, but I don't want to change the behavior of the join. I actually want it to be inactive. So I say, okay, make this join as inactive now, and I'm going to make this join inactive and see what happens. Now you can see in the first month I have 2 employees, the second month I have 3, third month I have another one added 4, then it becomes 6 by adding this. Another month, see there is no record. Now the May started coming even though there is no record, because now because of this formula we will get the months wherever we have the data. So we have now 6 and we have the next one 2 added, and then when termination is happening you can see the same number is getting repeated or it is getting reduced, because one hired, one terminated, only terminated. So now we are all sorted out. Now how do I create the age, current age of this one? So now first for that let's understand, let's have the employee ID. Now to know the employee's age on a particular month, we definitely the month is required for that context. Now is the employees active or not? You can simply print now because of the last date. Now see we had 19 employees, we terminated 11, only 8 are active, and because of the max available date when we calculate this, these are the active employees, and you are getting that correctly. So now let me remove that. So this is going to be the same formula I'm going to use to calculate the age. Now how do you do that? So to the age of the employee, and now we need the employee context to do that. So age of the employee is nothing but here, instead of counting the employees, Now I need to either sum the age or average the age. So I can say I will take the average x of the age, but how do I calculate the age in this place? So in this place I'm going to say, so the entire formula remains same. Instead of count x, I'm saying average x, and I need the employee age. And the way I'm going to get the employee's age is basically I'm going to say date diff, because I'm creating this inside the employee table. You can see in the filter I have employee table count x. I'm using the employee table. I can simply give my start date of the employee table without any problem, and max date. Now if you believe in beginning of period, end of period, again min is for the beginning of period, max is for the end of period. So date of date, comma, months. Now for the first month it might give 0, and you want it to have the tenure as 1, then you need to give +1. So I'll keep this number as is, and let me press enter. Now this is not active employee, this is my tenure. Let me put here. Now you are seeing right now it only for the active employees, and we are going to figure it out how to get it for the other employees. So now let's bring in month here as a slicer, and let's look at January. Now January there are 2 employees, both of them having tenure of 1 month. To March, April, May, June, July. See, if the employee is available, that's where I can give his tenure. If the employee has left the organization, his tenure is no more available with us, isn't it? So tenure is dependent on month. So for that month date, what is my tenure of the active employees? So this is the tenure of active employees who are available in this month. So there are 9 employees, active employees available, and that's the tenure. And you will see that this active count is also 9. So now what is happening? We know the tenure. Now we want to bucket it. Before I bucket it, what I want basically, let me bucketize this tenure here itself. So I create a measure. So I call it tenure bucket. So tenure bucket, I say switch, I say true, and I say tenure is less than equal to 6, comma, I say, and typically I give this space so that sorting gets sorted out, less than 6 months. And the switch true is going to allow me to write down conditions, multiple conditions I can write down, and I'm writing down in conditions such way that I don't have to check between. Now I'll say between 6 to 8 months, so I can only leave one, and I can say 6 to 12 months. And the last one is default is simply without leaving a space greater than 12 months. Okay, so now we got a major tenure bucket, which is actually telling us the bucket. Okay, so now you can see it's defining the bucket, and there are null values which is going to come out. We can handle that. We can say, okay, don't calculate it when the for the null values. So, but let's say if is blank tenure, then blank, else give us the bucket. So when it is blank, then give us the blank, otherwise give us. Now grand total doesn't matter, we can handle that, but right now we are getting now in my other file what I've done is I given it 1 2 3 and joined it 1 2 3, but here we can have the advantage of having these 1 2 3 is basically I don't need to be very careful that I'm exactly going to write down that number. So that is why I've done that. So I said this is 1, and let me copy paste. So let me do one thing. Yeah, let me call it 1 2 and 3. So now your age is coming as 1 2 3, and in the February I'm also going to start getting 3. Now I need to create a new table. Now this new table need to have 1 2 3 and the meaning of need to 3. So this is going to be a new table where I'm going to create using the enter data in the home tab, and I'm going to create a new bucket where I'm going to call it, let's say, tenure ID, which is nothing but 1 2 3. If you have more, then you can write down, and then you can say tenure bucket. and then the tenure bucket I can say is less than 6 months, 1 space 6 space hyphen space 12 months, and greater than 12 months, and let me call it as now. The way to join these two, now we need to join this. So the way to join this is basically we have to join either the values level or at the table level. So we will try to perform this join at the table level, and we have the majors and all those. So let's try to do that join. Now to do that join, what we need to do here, basically we need to create count in bucket. Now when we do count in bucket, the bucket should present, and if the bucket is not present, we can put that context. So we are going to put that later basically. Now let's first of all calculate count x filter employee table, means I'm going to perform the operation at the employee row level where my tenure, now tenure bucket as a major is equals to max of tenure, and because I'm taking max of tenure because that's where I need it in the row context, max of tenure bucket tenure ID. Now this join requires the row context, means the bucket should present in this one, and then I can count the employee ID. Now there is one problem here basically, because this is not in the row context, so the grand total will not be correct. So I can push the row context by saying sum x tenure bucket. So I say do this row calculation further at this one, and I'm using calculate because I'm doing a calculation inside, and I put it here. So now what I'm going to need to do is I need to create a new page. Let's call this as active employee page or employee page, and let's call the next page as age page. Now what I need here is basically I need this tenure bucket, and when I bring in this bucket and I try to bring this count in bucket, you will see this all 19 coming here. What's wrong happening here? So is that join? So one of the things which we need to do it again is basically cross. So we need to again make sure that we do a cross join. Not cross join, cross filter date of date, comma, employee start date, which is active, and none. And let's look at this now. Now we start getting true. Now is it 0 to 12? What is the date context and all those we have to see. We also need to take the employee ID. Are we getting at the correct one or not? So let's bring in employee ID, and we need to validate this formula. It took me few attempts to get that, and I need a month year here to calculate that. So let me put that as a filter, and the first month here is these only two employees, and all of them are less than 6 months. That's correct. 1 2 3 the employee ID, and if we look at the bucket there, their tenure is basically 2221. But let's look at June. Now the tenure less than month, less than 6, all the 8 employees. Let's look at July. Now we started getting 2 employees, which is more than that. Let's look at January 16. There are 2 employees which it is saying is greater than 12 here. February, you have 10 employees, active employees, and 442. That's the distribution, and that's coming correct. Now, so this is how we done the bucketing. So the count is correct. The active employees is showing the correct age, and that's the age which is reflecting out here. The 10 employees in what age bucket is there. Now, this is not only the problem you have asked. You said, okay, fine, I don't need a bucket. Why don't you show me the age itself? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Now, very simple thing is going to work. Now, this is the age bucket one. So let's modify this by calling it as age bucket. Now, actually you need the actual age. Then in that case, the new table which we require is basically going to be a little bit different. So click on any of the table and go and generate a new table using the generate series. And then you can simply call it as age, and you say generate series. One comma 100 comma 1. So it's going to generate the number from 1 to 100. Now what I wanted to see is this. Now I want to use this age. So my formula count in bucket is going to remain almost same, and then I'm going to say count in the age. So I create a new measure, count in, instead of count in bucket I'll going to count the count of age, and I don't want to sum x in the tenure bucket, I'm going to sum x into the age table. Now my join here, tenure bucket is not tenure bucket, it's basically I'm going to join with tenure, and the join is not going to be with the max of tenure bucket, it's going to be the max of age value. Now I join with max of age value, I close my filter, I still continue to count employee ID, I'm going to do the sum x inside the age one and the cross filter of the employee age, that's going to remain. Now let's look at this. Now we got this new one, let's create an age page here. In that age page, let's bring this value. Let's say this value is going to be an x-axis, and then bring in here. Now we got the ages, we need the count of ages. Now right now we have to basically go ahead and look at those values. To do that best, first of all, let's bring in a slicer here. In the slicer, let's put month here. In the month here, let's talk about January. We have only age 1. Let's bring in employee ID. Let's bring in age, which is nothing but tenure. And this is not age bucket, this is basically the tenure only. I called it as age. And now let's go to June. You can see 1, there are 2 people, 3, there are again 2 people, 4, there is 1, 5, there is 1, 6, there is 1. Let's reach to January 2016. Now we have 13 months for 2 employees, you can see it here. 11 months for only 1 employee, you can see here. 10 months for 2 employees, you can see here. So in this manner we are getting, and why you are getting 8.33, because we have used the average there. Okay, so that's why you are getting the average tenure. We got the sum x or we got the age. So the tenure is basically here. So tenure, we use the average x, and so that's why we're getting the average age of the employees. So you are getting the average age of the employees, you are getting in which age they are exactly in. Age means the tenure, which tenure they are in, or in the tenure bucket. So remember, these are snapshot kind of a measure, means at that particular period of time what was their behavior is going to change with the month selected. So that is why we have to write it little bit differently. Otherwise the bucketing would have been little bit easier, and you can watch my all dynamic segmentation bucketing videos where we have done it on the simpler measures like quantity, margin, percentage, etc. They are little bit simpler than this one. So go ahead and try that out, and do let me know what else you want me to cover in this particular series. Thanks for watching this video. Thank you. Keep watching, keep asking questions in comments, subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon so that you can get notification for new videos. Thank you.